All right, whenever you guys want to start. JD, you want to start us off?
Jeremiah Draper, from the North Hardin High School of Radcliffe, Kentucky, representative of Morehead State. Here to talk sports, man.
That was the best intro I've ever heard in any podcast that I've listened to all year.
So
You, authentic.
we got EJ Piernis here, from the John Hardin High School, technically Radcliffe slash E Town, we're on the border, the better school, the one that actually knows what playoffs are like for football. But big sports fan. We'll talk about a lot of topics here. It should be a fun time.
Where'd you go to? What university you go to, EJ?
My bad. I forgot to have this on. At University of Louisville. Representing the U of L. One of the few good things that we have going on right now besides women's basketball.
True, true, true. What do you do outside of school? What's your job like besides professional podcaster?
Besides professional podcasting, still working on campus with their intramural department, working on potentially getting a job, staying there. So we'll see how that goes.
I
We got a
feel it. I
lot of
feel it.
moving pieces. Big Special Olympics participant here. Love
Oh
them.
yeah, shout out.
Shout out.
JD, you say what you did?
What do you mean?
Like outside of? Did you say where you go went to school and what did you do for a job?
State University. Currently work for Phoenix Health Solutions, a pharmaceutical company here in Louisville, Kentucky. Proud of what I do. Love the job.
Nice. Good for you, buddy.
Uh,
Last but not least,
yeah,
you got
but not-
You got Langston, aka LeBrankston, aka JD's mother's favorite.
Mhm.
Um, I have also went to John Hardin High School from E-Town, Kentucky. From the University of Kentucky, I represent. I also went to South Florida, represent them partly, and now I am a athletic trainer working at Kentucky. Obviously, anything that I say represents my opinion and doesn't represent the University of Kentucky. So yeah, we've pretty much known each other for at least middle school. At least eighth grade year, I knew JD for a little bit. EJ I didn't really know until going into high school. But we're all pretty good friends. We've known each other going up through high school. As much as I hate JD, we're good friends. Um, yeah, just talking about this podcast, talking about sports, maybe a couple TV shows that we watch. Maybe one day we'll get JD and EJ to convince me to watch some anime, and we'll talk about that on the show. But one day,
We're very just for that.
yeah.
Two people to talk to about that.
Yeah, we'll have to bring in some guests, and I'll just sit back and listen.
Right. Mm-mm-mm. Hey, JD, think about this. How long we know each other? Think about that. And since second grade, I believe.
What year was that?
Honestly, that was probably
2005, 2006.
was that six? Would that have been like? No, I've been like four.
You might be
2004?
right. 2004, man.
Like around there. Yeah.
Born in Kentucky.
And when did you first move to Kentucky?
That was the second grade. I believe it was right during the school years, and I think it was like later in that year. I would probably
Mhm.
say around November-ish. No, yeah, around November. Came from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, man. Got the call from my pop, uh, who was in the army at the time. Getting PCS. It's Fort Knox, Kentucky. Knew nothing about Kentucky. And remember my first day going to class, man. It was crazy. But I think Miss Tillotson was my teacher at the time in the
Mhm.
second grade. And going to Kentucky, I mean, didn't expect to see a lot of kids of my color, but walked into class, man, saw another fellow black kid in there, man, and saw open seat, sat down, introduced myself, man, and been my boy ever since, man. So day ones, man, got to keep them in your life.
It's crazy. It's been that long.
That's crazy, JD. I didn't know you weren't originally from Kentucky.
No, sir. Born in Honolulu, Hawaii. A lot
Wow.
of people know that. Dad got PCS around. I don't know why he decided to settle in Kentucky, but man, been here ever since. Man, it's been my home. Quick to leave, but it's always gonna be my home at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Learn something new. It's crazy that I didn't know that until we started recording this podcast. It's kind of fake, but
Hey, man, that's what you gotta do. You have known long enough.
yeah, I guess so. I haven't known him long enough. I've only known him since he was that goofy kid in 8th grade in Mr. Perry's class.
Good old Mr. Perry.
Oh, yeah.
Good times, man.
The good days. I miss those days.
Yeah.
Repping James T. Alton. That blue and white. Yeah. Well, crazy how stuff went though. But like JD talked about a little bit about him. Like that's the biggest thing. I think Langston, were your parents military too?
hmm
Yeah, so that's like I think all of us we're all military brats for the most part. I mean,
hmm
I didn't get to enjoy that moving like my older sisters did. I was born in California, just outside of LA, and then I've been here since kindergarten. So I literally know nothing besides Kentucky essentially, even though I always claim Cali as my home. Got to do that.
Yeah. I feel like so I was born in Fort Knox. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Mhm.
Good old Ireland Hospital before it shut down. But I lived there, stayed in Radcliffe for a little bit, went to E-Town. It's funny, JD, that you said that like you didn't expect any people of your color in your class when you moved there. When like I went to private school, North Hardin Christian. My mic's not working. Wait, is that my brother? He's an idiot. Anyways, I went to North Hardin Christian School. I didn't really think anything of it back in the day, just because like obviously I'm white, so I didn't really have that issue. But I like looking back at it, I didn't really have like a person of color in my class till I was probably in 6th or 7th grade, and that person ended up being Chris Baptiste, and then he was only there for a little bit, and then they started getting more people of color, but that's when I eventually moved out. So I thought that was crazy. But yeah, I lived in Kentucky my whole life. Obviously, moved down to Tampa for 2 years to get my master's, and then I'm back up here at Kentucky. Couldn't get enough of it, I guess.
It's crazy. So with that, Langston, I guess you being in Kentucky, how did you become a fan of like your sports teams? How did that happen?
So I get that question a lot. Pretty much the way I base my sports teams was obviously Kentucky doesn't have any professional sports teams. Well, at the time, now we have soccer. But back in the day, I was just kind of based off of who I played for my rec league teams. So Minnesota Vikings was my first football team that I played for, so they were my team. Back in the good Rhineyville basketball days, the Houston Rockets were my team, so I stayed on that team and watched a lot of Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. Um, who else? Like same with baseball, Chicago Cubs, and then soccer is just like from what I watched over the years and just kind of stuck with that. And stuck with those teams. So PSG and LA Galaxy are my two main teams.
So you played basically a little bit of everything when you were growing up.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Played everything. Played a little bit of tennis. Played a little bit of bowling.
Mhm.
A lot of badminton.
I was mainly didn't really get to do a lot of the other ones. 'Cause I was football, so football was during. But typically, was football around like that soccer time? I'm trying to remember, or I don't know. But I wasn't able to do much. I was mainly like football, basketball, like throughout growing up, rocking like the Fort Knox leagues up through like 4th grade, 5th grade, then started doing like the Hardin County, then finally playing football at John, and once I got to high school, started going to that track career, which is probably the best thing I've ever done besides football. Probably the most fun I've had too. But outside that, like Lance was talking about his teams, being from born in California, grew up big Laker fan, big Kobe fan, obviously. RIP to the Black Mamba. Um,
RIP.
most of my other family, my mom and dad's side, all from like the Gulf Coast area, so that was naturally became a Saints fan. You know, through before we rooting for them when we were the Aints with Aaron Brooks and Deuce and all of them, and finally we started getting good. But yeah, big sports guy. I try to root for everybody, but like main sports. Obviously, I do basketball, football. But I watch everything.
JD, man, I've get this question from a lot of people who we have mutual friends from, like our boy TC, shout out. But how are you a Bears fan and a Boston Celtics fan? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, it don't make
So this
sense.
is funny story. I mentioned how my dad was in the military. Uh, First off, both my parents are from Chicago, born and raised, high school sweethearts, which is crazy. So yeah, my parents have been together for a while. But at one point, my dad got stationed up there by Boston for I would say about a year or two. This is before I was born. And what jersey it was, but it was somebody who was playing for the Celtics at the time, man. And where that picture is at this moment, but I remember probably one of the first jerseys I ever owned was a Boston Celtics jersey. So ever since growing up, I wasn't really that into like the NBA. At that point when I was growing up, then I would say right around the time, yeah, right around 2005, I was a big KG fan. So I had the Minnesota Timberwolves jersey. Wasn't really saying I was a Minnesota fan at the time, but I was a big KG fan. Then the older I got, then that time when he got traded to Boston in '08, I just fell in love with it, man. Just the energy that those fans bring at TD Garden. Was already a fan of Paul Pierce. Was a big fan of Anton Walker. Surprisingly, he was playing for Boston at that time. My dad was a big Al Jefferson fan in college. I think he was in college. I just know my dad was a big Al Jefferson fan, and Celtics drafted him, so it was just I don't know. I think it just brought me there, even though my whole family grew up Bulls fans, and I just to this day MJ is always gonna be my vote. But that's just kind of how I got brought to the Celtics mafia, though. Bleed green.
I mean, I don't agree with your goat topic, but we'll say that for a later day, later podcast. Um, that's interesting to know. I didn't know that. I've always wondered that. I know a couple of our boys have asked me, and I was like, I have no clue. I don't understand why he supports that organization. But
It's tough to get that whole story out there because you don't want to just break it down and say, "Oh, look, my dad lived up there." It was. I never went into detail about it that far, but I just felt like this was the perfect time to get it out there.
yeah, perfect time for our debut podcast episode to clear the air.
Yes, sir.
Announce our teams before the NFL season starts back up. NBA is almost to playoff time. What we got about like a month left. The rest of March, beginning of April is when playoffs start.
Yeah.
March Madness is here. Obviously, EJ said he went to University of Louisville. I went to Kentucky. JD went to Moorhead, but I still believe that you support Kentucky. Like in sports, like at least basketball. Obviously, when like Moorhead's not in the tournament.
I'm gonna say this. I grew up a Kentucky fan. I will say that when they had man, Jody Meeks, that squad back in the day, man. I would say I probably jumped on board then. Then obviously when John Wall and Boogie came in, and Langston, was you with me when we went to? Did you go to that UK basketball tournament with me?
No, I did
felt
not. That
like
wasn't me.
okay. It had to be somebody else then.
It's a different
Probably
white boy.
had to be. I know I went there with somebody that was from that Vine Grove Radcliffe area, but man, went to a UK camp the summer John Wall was coming in, Boogie and all them. So man, that whole camp was just electric. Kids everywhere, and the funny thing is we got to play knockout. Thing is, I had Darius Miles behind me, so I already knew I couldn't miss. But I can say this: I got a lot. If people remember him, Perry Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
I
He
remember.
was on that team that year. I don't think he was a freshman. I think he was like a junior, or sophomore. But I was able to get him out on. We was only playing the free throw line, but I was able to get him out though. So that I could say.
Nice.
Nice. That's a good story. I never knew that. Nah, it wasn't me. It was a different. Had to been a different white boy back in the day.
Yeah. So, what you're talking about, like your experiences meeting some of those players like that. Lance, I know you did your athletic training and stuff at UK. Do you have any cool experiences with like other athletes that went on to do things in in major leagues or just like were very big in college?
Yeah, so I mean, like I've worked pretty much with college athletics for the past 6 years, whether it's like as a certified athletic trainer or just like being a student around, just helping out and getting my hours in. And then on top of that, I've worked in NFL. I worked with the Las Vegas Raiders as a summer intern 1 year. That was pretty sweet. Got to meet great guys like Darren Waller, even like Jason Witten was there for 1 year, so I got to meet a Cowboys Hall of Famer. It's crazy seeing like the difference between the younger guys in the NFL compared to like the older veterans and how much they like are like, nah, I'm not practicing today. Like I'm just taking the day off compared to like the younger guys who just get yelled at every single day. So I thought that was pretty funny. Got an opportunity to work with XFL right before COVID hit. That was a cool experience just because not a lot of people get an opportunity to work a different professional football league just because we haven't had one in so many different years. But with like college athletics, I've seen a lot of people go from like I worked with Josh Allen, not the quarterback Josh Allen, but the defensive end Josh Allen. He was there my freshman year when he was a freshman. Came out of high school, two-star recruit, just getting yelled at by the coaches every single day. Everyone was like, "Nah, like this dude isn't gonna make it." Um, was brought in a couple times throughout his freshman year to play a couple games. Coaches were yelling at him. He was like in different positions, basically like screwing up the game. We we were pretty terrible that year. We one went outside of a bowl game. And like as a Kentucky fan, as a football fan, everyone knows that Kentucky's not the best in football. At least back then. We're getting better now. Uh, but funny story is like you fast forward like 2 years into my junior year and his junior year, and he's getting recognized as like a top 15 NFL pick, first rounder, and then he ended up getting drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's killing it there. And I think he's going into his contract year this year. So it's stuff like that is pretty cool. Just seeing uh, kids come out of nowhere, low level 2-star recruits, especially in football, and then rise up to the NFL. And I've worked with like him. I worked with a couple of soccer players who have gone to MLS. I just had a boy, my boy Amaya Mabika. He got drafted to Inter Miami FC, David Beckham's team down in Miami. He was a first round pick. Shout out to him. He just got called up to the first team. So yeah, I've had quite a few experiences with just different athletes all the way around.
That's dope.
I asked this question about Jonathan Allen. Did you see like his growth going into his junior year? Did you see it like that sophomore year? Because I think he
I
got on
didn't
my radar his sophomore year for sure.
I didn't get to see him a lot just because as a freshman I worked football, and then after that I kind of went and worked different sports.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't really get to see him that much, but he was outside of football. He was still the same goofball. But I heard other people be like, yeah, like he's really turned it up a notch in practice. Like I've talked to the rest of the people in sports medicine staff who worked with him, and they were just like, yeah, like he's taken it up to a different level.
Yeah.
But on that note, speaking of college football and football, let's talk about all the stuff that's been going on in NFL this week. We've got, unfortunately, as me and JD are members of the NFC North, Aaron Rodgers is staying. Don't know how I feel about that just because he's literally taking up the whole cap space for the Green Bay Packers.
Hey, but
So he's just gonna have a box of rocks and paper airplanes to throw to.
hey,
Can I
man,
get
but
this out before we really get into Aaron Rodgers? I feel like he's robbing the Green Bay Packers.
No, he is 100%.
One Super Bowl appearance, and how long has he been in the league?
He's been in the league since
it
late 2000s,
was like, was it like 6, 7, somewhere around that time frame?
something like
Had
that.
to be.
He was drafted behind.
Yeah.
I think we all know he was drafted behind Roger or behind Favre. Let's see, because I think because they won in 10, right? Yeah, they
One
won
in
in
10.
10. So
Yeah.
I think he was probably like got drafted in maybe 6 or 7 then.
Something like that because Brett Favre got traded in going into the 08-09 season. because that's the year that Brett Favre took us to the NFC Championship. And unfortunately, the Saints won the Super Bowl in 2009. But we're not going to talk about that this podcast.
That's fine. I'm trying to think too, because before that, he was with the Vikings. He was with the Jets first.
So yeah, he's with the Jets.
That would have been like 8. So Rodgers probably drafted like 6, 7.
Probably 6 or 7, one of the two.
We'll probably fact check that, but we understand he's been winning that division since he's been the starter for the most part.
Yeah,
definitely. I feel like he's one of the best quarterbacks that I've seen since I've been alive. This is tough coming from a Bears fan because you got to see him twice a year, but you really get to see what makes him great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the checking at the line, his relationships with his receivers, how he can just read defensive coverages coming out of a 7-step drop it's unbelievable what he does, and I hate that I have to see him twice a year, but you really get to see his excellence, and I'm happy Stephen A. and all these other media guys are finally started to see that the last couple of years. But I really just had to say that, man. I really feel like he's robbing the Green Bay Packers, taking what 3/4 of their salary right now, and now you got Devontae Adams coming out, who's deserving of a contract. I would say probably, if not top 2 best receiver in the league right now. You can have that conversation. We'll have that conversation later down the road. But man, it's just kind of how Kirk Cousins is robbing the Vikings, man. It's just
hey, we're not going to talk about
he
that.
has the best agent in all of sports right now, professional sports. Kirk Cousins has the best agent, hands down. I just saw his guarantee money earlier today, but I'll let y'all talk on it.
Yeah, we ain't gonna talk about that. But back on Devontae Adams, he just turned down his franchise tag today too.
Yeah, he said he's not gonna play on it.
No,
long term.
Which as soon as Aaron Rodgers signed that, I was like, all right, well, like there goes some key pieces, and they just had to cut one of their starting offensive linemen. Yeah, and then they they cut an O lineman, they cut Z, and they signed Preston Smith to a 4-year contract too.
Extension, yeah.
I mean, you guys are saying this about the contract stuff. As a Saints fan, I'm not a cap expert, but at this point, I know how every year my team's always over the cap, so I know there are ways you can save money. Like once Rodgers signs his deal, they'll have cap space because you can.
So
the salary cap is there, but it's easy to get around in the NFL.
Yeah, that I was about to say. I was listening to Jalen and Jacoby last week, and Jalen Rose was basically like talking about the salary cap. It was either Jalen or Jacoby, one of the two, was talking about the salary cap, and was like they were comparing it to baseball, to MLB, where they don't have a salary cap. And one of them was like, basically, if you know how to work the NFL salary cap, you can get around it and kind of make it to where there's not really a salary cap. There's so much ways you can put it into like incentives and stuff like that to where it doesn't affect it. So as much as like people think that the Packers won't be able to re-sign anyone, I think they have it structured to where they can still move their money around and not have to worry about being over.
Right.
Like unfortunately how the Saints do every single year.
Yep. I mean, that's why. Well, we started the season. We started over $70 million over the salary cap, the highest team this year. We're only $6 million, and we haven't had to cut anybody yet. So
stupid. I don't. I'm just gonna say this right now since it's our first podcast. Me and JD hate the Saints, and EJ is one of the most delusional Saints fans I've ever met, and I'm sure it'll come out on this podcast because every time EJ texts in our group chat about the Saints, I get so angry and annoyed, and JD's always there to have my back.
It's blasphemy what this man says.
It's blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Hey, man,
I wish the world can see.
I say it because I know it'll get you guys riled up. It's funny.
Nah, he means the truth. He means it.
I do mean it too. I mean, y'all be hating sometimes. I be speaking facts for the most part.
Speaking of the Saints, EJ, how do you feel about the Saints talking to trying to get Deshaun Watson?
I'm not a big fan of all that whole situation. Like, obviously, it's hard. He didn't get criminal charges, which is hard to get criminal charges in a case like that without having like actual evidence and things like that, all the facts. I'm not going to talk about that just because we're not experts in that situation, what's going on. But I've been somebody that's really against it. I mean, obviously, if it was like 1 or 2 women or like different cases, maybe that's something a little different. I mean, obviously not different in a bad way, but we have 22 women come out and say like we've had these instances. That's sort of hard to. It's hard to say that didn't happen or everything like that. I mean, but definitely a red flag, especially with the fact that what they want to give up, like the rumored asking price right now is still like 3 first-round picks, second-round picks, 3 starters and stuff like that. Like it's a lot, and I'm just not a big fan of that. I know he's a young quarterback in his prime, but I mean, I'm willing to pay that if he was clean, but he just has so many question marks. I really don't want to bring that in sort of slap in the face of all like the female fans.
Yeah, on top of like the female fans, just from like an NFL standpoint, of like something else pops up, and he gets like criminal charges on like a similar situation after you just traded like all your key pieces and draft picks. Then if he's like suspended for a longer time, then you basically just forfeited your players for free.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a lot of red flags. I know the Vikings were considering it, considering talking to him, but I don't think we will just because now we extended Kirk Cousins a little bit. I wasn't a fan of even talking to him. I just want to leave that whole situation alone. Send them to a crumbling franchise like Miami, where they have all their own problems, and let Texas get rid of them.
Supposedly, looks like the Saints and the Panthers they finished their meetings with them that they had today. So that's happened. So there might be more teams to follow potentially, but that's like 15 minutes ago.
The most realistic team he could go to, I would feel like, would be Carolina, because I feel like they have the pieces to give up for him. I mean, what would you say? Obviously, the 3 first-round picks. You can probably throw McCaffrey in there and just call it a day. Honestly, I feel like. I mean, running backs. Hate how that stigma's coming out about these running backs nowadays. How you can just replace them so easily. Um, in Chicago right now, I'm a huge David Montgomery fan, but we'll talk about that another time. But I mean, you throw McCaffrey in there with 3 first-round picks, and I guess throw another guy, you know. But that's the only realistic place I see him going. Honestly, I don't know where else. Seattle, but I don't even know what Seattle would do for that.
Yeah,
but
I don't know how Pete Carroll would feel about that.
I mean, the Saints are a realistic option. I don't understand again. Like the Saints are still essentially ready. They're a few pieces away from like a Super Bowl contender. They have a championship level defense. It's been like top 10, top 5 the last 3-4 years. Offense was hurt last year completely. I mean, they went 9-8 with 4 different quarterbacks last year, and arguably could have made the playoffs if they weren't missing like 21 players on their Monday or Tuesday night game against the Dolphins.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't know about that. I still hate the Saints. I don't think they would have made the playoffs.
Literally that game, if they win that game, they're in the playoffs.
See, that's what I'm talking about, EJ. You just get wild up too easily. Anytime we say anything bad about the Saints, you just start acting crazy.
I just said we won that game.
Blown out in the wild card. Just to get blown out in the wild card. Like, why are they on TV? It's like watching the Lakers every night. Why are the Lakers on primetime TV every night? It kills me.
Yep.
I just know at least we embarrassed Aaron Rodgers this year. I mean, you guys didn't do that.
Yeah, but EJ, on the top of free agency quarterbacks, how do you feel that Tom Brady's coming back for his 23rd season?
I'm not concerned about it. Right. Right.
All right.
He's 1-4 against the. He's 1-4
in the regular season. In the regular season. Audience in the regular season. He's the most hypest Saints fan in the regular season.
Did you even listen to me?
Jesus.
Did you listen to what I said?
Continue.
I said he's 1-4 against us. So I was gonna say he did get the more important win in the playoffs.
Yeah, by far.
It's at Drew home.
When it matters, folks.
Yeah, but I didn't realize, how often does Aaron Rodgers lose to Trevor Siemian? How often does he lose to Taysom Hill?
Trevor had that nice year in Denver that one year. Did he play Aaron Rodgers? We'll have to fact check that.
I don't remember that. We don't fact check on this podcast. This is all opinions.
I'm not saying facts, but you're saying your quarterback Tom Brady can't beat Trevor Siemian in the game? Like, come on now. Don't act like. I understand, like, if we would have lost these 2 games this year, but we beat them with no quarterback, essentially.
I can't talk. My team lost to Cooper Rush. and the Dallas Cowboys this year, so I can't talk.
Early in the season, though. It's hard to judge a team early in the season, man. Real tough.
At the end of the day, Tom Brady's come back. He's gonna demolish the Saints this year. Saints are gonna crumble. Something I've been waiting for ever since 2009 with Bountygate. But we'll save that for a different podcast.
I mean, I'll still say this though: between our three teams, I think my team says it's the most realistic to make the playoffs.
We'll talk about that in a different podcast. I don't want to get you too angry today. I don't want to get too angry today. It's a Monday night. No, we're not talking about that anymore. We're switching to a different topic. We're going to the other quarterback who got a brand new team this year, Russell Wilson.
It's Denver got a steal.
I hate that they lost Noah Fant, but
I mean, you can say that. Noah Fant's been hurt he's been very injury prone throughout his career.
And I feel like tight ends are so easily to get nowadays.
Yeah, and then they're tight. I think Denver. I don't remember their backup's name, but he played a lot last year with Noah Fant being out. He played well.
Yeah, I don't remember who they got either.
Not having to give up any of your receivers.
I would love for O.J. Howard to go to Denver.
He could be decent.
I don't know if y'all saw this today, but Evan Ingram got a 1-year, $10 million deal to go to Jacksonville.
With $9
Is he there?
$10 million included in sit-ins. So I don't know what his guaranteed money is, and I don't know what his yearly salary for that contract is, but I don't know.
I believe it was a 1 year, $8 million. Like it's the base. I believe so.
I'm guessing they gave him 2 for incentives if he plays a certain amount of games that year, or if he makes Pro Bowl, probably.
Dude, I mean, speaking about Jacksonville, he reset in
You see
receiver.
Christian Kirk?
Christian Kirk making like $15, $16 million.
Mm-hmm.
One of the highest paid receivers.
Making stupid money.
So what do y'all think about this? Do you think like Jacksonville just trying to make that splash? What is it? Doug Peterson is down there right now?
Yeah, he's their head coach now because they fired Urban.
Yeah. You definitely got to get some bodies in there for Trevor Lawrence. I'm real happy they're addressing that with a franchise tag, Cam Robinson.
They also signed Brandon Scherf from Washington.
From the Commanders. And they still got the first overall pick, man. And what I'm seeing in these draft boards is the kid at Alabama, that big tackle. So, addressing it, man. You see it with Joey B, man, but I mean, it's 2 ways you can attack a young quarterback: either surround him with weapons or give him an O-line, or do what the Bears did and give him neither, but I'm definitely liking what they're saying. Do you think they're winning free agency right now? I know it's just day one, but I mean, what they're doing.
They're not.
I mean, I think they made some good money moves, but I don't think they're winning free agency. I think I think Denver is at least top of there. Steelers got a steal with what's his face, Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah. Maserati Mitch, yes sir, got his deal. I'm happy for my boy, man.
I mean, honestly, the team that's winning free agency for me, I mean, if you include trades and everything that's happened, the Chargers. They signed J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, and Khalil Mack.
And they already have the weapons. They brought back Mike Williams. Their defense was the weak part last year. I heard they're trying to convince Bobby Wagner to come there too. Potentially.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He's going to be a big sign if they can get him.
Well, I mean, if that defense is healthy,
I'll let you finish, EJ. My bad.
I'm saying if that defense is healthy, I was thinking about it this way: like your edges, you got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. That's solid. You have decent linebackers already. I think you have Kenneth Murray, dude from Oklahoma a couple years ago. I think they have another one. I can't remember his name. That was pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Get J.C. Jackson there, and then Derwin James can stay healthy. He's one of the do-it-all, strong safeties, linebacker hybrids. You have pieces.
Samuel Jr. His dad played in the league too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot he was there.
In the league last year. Nice.
The issue next year will be if they don't make the playoffs. That's a sneaky spot I could see Sean Payton in if he comes back to coaching.
To the Chargers?
If they have another bad year, all the weapons and stuff.
Who's their coach right now?
Brandon Staley. I don't see. He's a young coach, young defensive coach. I don't see him losing that job. Even if, like you said, even if they do have a bad year, I see Sean Payton going to Dallas before he goes to the Chargers.
If I'm Sean Payton, I'd rather go to the Chargers.
I'd rather go to Chargers. I'm trying to stay out of Jerry's world.
Of course, but that's Jerry's. It's Dallas, bro. I mean, I just don't see Brandon Staley getting kicked out the door that quick when he.
I'm not saying he's gonna get kicked out, but they have another year. They can't not make playoffs this year.
If he's making more questionable calls like that again, I understand that he had a player poll on the sideline against the Raiders, but I mean, come on now, come on.
I think another big sign is Hassan Reddick to the Eagles. It's gonna be good for them. But although they're trying to load off Fletcher Cox.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. We're only one day in with all the legal tampering, so there's still a lot to come. Like not even one day in actually. We still have time, but like
yeah,
we still got so many top free agents. Like for me, since I'm a Saints fan, you have the top tackle on the market this year, Teron Armstead. That man stays healthy. He's a top 4, top 5 left tackle in the league. So a team that needs tackle help can get him to come there. That's a big boost. Then Marcus Williams, if a team needs a free safety, outside like his major hiccup that everybody remembers him for, which is the Minneapolis Miracle and his missed tackle. But like outside of that, he's been great as one of the top free safeties in the league the last 4 years. He's only 25 too. It doesn't seem like that, but he's only 25.
That's crazy. He doesn't seem that.
I want to hit on Armstead real quick before we move on. Are we just waiting just for Cincinnati to throw the bag at him, or like who else is realistically has the money to throw at him other than Cincinnati, probably Miami?
They said
Colts have money too.
Last time I checked, the teams
but Colts need a quarterback first.
Were Jacksonville was supposed to be a team, but I know they franchised Cam Robinson or whatever. Like obviously bringing him in could be good. Bengals have a need. Dolphins, they have the money. He said it himself. He's not opposed to returning to New Orleans, depending if like the price is there. I don't realistically see being able to keep him and Marcus Williams because of the money stuff, especially if they somehow bring in Deshaun Watson, which who knows what that is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How old is
he? He's 31. And his main issue is just if he's healthy, he's one of the top, if not the top tackle in the league.
Like him and Trent is right there. Him and Trent is right there. For sure.
Trent got the bag too.
I think I said he only played like 8 games last year, but he only gave up like maybe 1 sack or like that. I mean, he's going to get the best day in, day out.
Yep.
So, and he's one of the most athletic. I mean, I think he still holds the record for the 40-yard dash for linemen.
I think so.
Ran like a 4. I think he ran like a 4.7 or something like that, roughly.
Yeah. Remember, we don't fact check on this podcast. It's all we just make up stuff.
Right.
2 other things. One team made a big splash and then released one of their good players. The Browns traded for Amari Cooper and then released Jarvis Landry today. That's interesting. I don't know what teams are looking at Jarvis Landry right now. I also don't know how I feel about Amari Cooper on the Browns. I'm not a big Baker Mayfield person. I think he gets too much hate. But then again, he also wasn't really healthy that year. The Browns organization is just trying to screw everyone over. JD, you got something to say?
Would love to see Jarvis Landry in Tampa Bay. Play that AB position for him. Run the slide.
Yeah, he would just have to take I don't know how their salary cap looks like, but they'd have to put it.
Ooh, that is true.
Because they still have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's trying to get his new deal because he doesn't want another franchise.
Franchise too.
They have a lot of guys to sign back though.
Yeah, I just saw they're trying to re-sign Gronkowski.
They brought back Carlton Davis officially.
Yeah, I saw that 3-year deal.
That's a free agent.
But they got to work on their O-line though. Cause they lost their 2 starting guards.
Yeah, one of them retired.
Oh, guards. Yep.
I forget. The other one went to Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I will say this free agency is deep with guards. I
Mhm.
saw a tweet earlier today that this is a really deep free agency for guards and receivers. Even
Even in the
can we go?
draft,
I want to go back to that Christian Kirk in Jacksonville when we can too, because that
we can go right now. Let's go back to it. It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
is he really worth 17 to 18 mil a year? Or is
Hold
that
on.
just
Let me pull up
is
a
that
stat. I just had a stat of receivers making that kind of money. You guys keep talking while I find it.
season yet? He hasn't had over 1,000-yard season yet. I love his intangibles. I was hoping the Bears could make a swing at him, try to get him around 12 to 13 a year. But
Yeah, I would have
Jesus,
hated that.
I did not see Jacksonville throwing the bag at him. And I
Yeah.
mean, down there they already got Marvin Jones running the outside. They got the other kid from UCF. He's a tough runner.
But I'm wondering
But I
too.
mean,
Shark is still there too, isn't he?
Sharks are
free
great.
agent. Not-
That's right. He isn't he going somewhere else?
The Bears got
Uh,
some interest on him. I've been listening to some podcasts about him. So
I saw something about the Raiders for him potentially too, looking into him. But I
So-
mean, go ahead,
So
Lane.
I found my tweet. So Christian Kirk is making as much or more in terms of money per season at wide receiver than Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, that's craziness.
That's insane.
the market, man, cap's going up.
Cap's
So-
going up. Cap's going crazy.
I mean, that deal alone is the reason Devontae Adams is going to get 30.
That's what.
Yeah.
And that declining the franchise tag, bro. This is your second time doing it just because of your boy Aaron. You know, you deserve it. You know, I personally feel like he's the best receiver in the league. Like I said, I get to see him twice a year,
I
but
think so.
just his route running, he's guaranteed hands. You got to find him in the red zone. Like he'll beat you with speed, but
I don't
man.
think there's an argument about him being the best wide receiver. I think between him,
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs is up there. I think eventually Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase will get up there once they get a couple more years under their belt. I mean, they're both two stud of wide receivers right now, but I don't think anyone beats Devontae right now.
Nope. Like he's the clear one right at the moment. Like
Easily.
him and Aaron Rodgers, their connection. Like, didn't he have
Stupid.
he had over,
check, just look.
did he have over like 1,500 yards this year, something like that? Something crazy?
I don't remember.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I mean, I know he didn't win the title because they went to a cup. But I thought he had something
Yeah.
crazy with his yards.
It wouldn't surprise me, and I think he still missed a game and still had a career year.
I know he was easily over 1,000. That's not the question. I know
for
he was
sure.
like he might have been like
He
a
was
little,
at 1,553.
1,500. Ridiculous.
Man. While we're still on receivers, I would really love. I'm a big Allen Robinson fan. I would really like to see him in Oakland. Not Oakland, but with the Raiders. With
Las Vegas.
Mhm.
yeah, with Derek Carr, Adam Thielen, Darren Waller. Just give him. I
Adam
feel like
Thielen.
Derek.
Adam
Oh,
Thielen.
my bad. So Renfro, my God,
Hunter Renfro.
Jesus.
Hunter Renfro.
Yeah, Hunter Renfro.
I
But
think that'd be nice too.
Derek Carr, just give him some more weapons, man. Give him some more help up front in the O line. I still like who's the running back right now? Help me out, Mason.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. He runs behind his pads, man.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Waller's a matchup nightmare for corners, linebackers,
Anybody.
safeties. You know, defense is finally coming on. You got Denzel Perryman. That was just a quiet Pro Bowler last year. Led the league in tackles. We already know what we see in Cosby. You got Ngakoue on the other side. You know, got some decent secondary.
Forgot about Ngakoue.
That's an intriguing team. And, you know, to go back on the Chargers real quick, with them bringing Mac over, man, that's a tough. It was already a tough division, but now it's just like.
Well, that and adding Russell Wilson into that division too.
Oh my goodness, yes. It's showtime.
It's
Honestly,
showtime.
that's the showtime division right now, and I like the Chargers.
Between the NFC West and the AFC West, both of those West Coast teams, or conferences, or divisions, are the two powerhouses right now.
Right now, NFC West.
Besides Seattle.
Well, Seattle, I wouldn't include.
I think Arizona, LA, Arizona, the Rams, and the 49ers are still pretty decent.
Yeah.
Besides what they do with Jimmy G, I don't know what they're doing, but I would say still the AFC West has a higher hold over the NFC West.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're the best quarterback division by far.
Yeah,
I mean, Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in that division. He's not. He's like,
he's not even that bad.
I would consider him like one of the top and the second tier quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I mean, with Kirk Cousins' contract, what he got, was it 35 million or something like that?
Something
Guaranteed.
like that, yeah.
I mean, Derek Carr deserves that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at one point playing at MVP level back in like 14 or whatever it was. Whenever
I mean, he even had a good year. He had a good year last year too, and the year before that.
Considering everything that was going on with the organization.
Yeah, considering everything with the organization with Gruden, obviously the situation with Henry Ruggs,
Yeah.
all that stuff going on, and he'd still find a way to win big games. I just think it was a tough year for them in terms of football standpoint, and I just think that organization just needs to switch a couple pieces around, and I think they'll be good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But I think Allen Robinson would help out a lot. It's crazy how they used to have Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack.
And they traded him in back to back months, and they got
Yep.
traded in like back to back days. It
Yep.
felt like this year, which is absurd.
Crazy.
GM at that time.
I don't remember.
Especially
It wasn't Mayock. Mayock
No.
wasn't there yet.
Mayock wasn't there yet. Mayock. Speaking of Mayock, he's a cool dude. I liked him a lot when he was there.
Is he going to be doing the draft this year?
I think
He
so.
doesn't do the draft. What is he? I don't remember him from the combine when he said about offense about Pete for the Saints.
Mhm.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I'm gonna show y'all that video, but yeah, I agree with you saying, man. I like Daniels coming in there, get that offense going. But yeah, that's gonna be a really exciting division for sure. They got everybody's gonna be watching that division every Sunday for sure.
Man, I feel
Definitely.
like they're replacing the how the AFC North was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
With every team being dominant, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting.
You know, I know it's Cleveland, but I feel like it's still gonna be an entertaining division. I feel like Lamar coming back, you know, Cincinnati top dog right there right now. See what Mitch can do in Pittsburgh. Um, I don't know what Cleveland's gonna look like, but I mean, I'm just happy to see Lamar back out there. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people aren't giving his respect that he deserves. Former MVP, but I feel like he's gonna remind people who he is.
Just because you brought Lamar's one of the coolest people. When he was at Louisville, he was humble, really cool. We met him on a couple times, but glad he's doing good in the NFL.
Oh yeah, he's killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they get a run at Super Bowl.
Hope so. I mean, I'm not gonna say I expect him to ever play at this level, be MVP or something like that, but hopefully he can stay healthy. And this,
Oh yeah.
like, he's the next wave of the new quarterback.
EJ, going back to the original question you asked me at the beginning about like cool experiences working with athletes. My freshman year working UK football, we were playing Louisville in Lexington, and we were up like 21-0 on them. And then that's when they brought in Lamar Jackson for the first time going in the second half. And then they came down and like smacked us like 35-21 or something like that. And Lamar Jackson was going crazy.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I blame Kentucky for his success because he demolished us that game. And we needed to win that game to go to a bowl game. And we were all excited going into halftime and then leaving the place. We didn't want to talk to anyone.
Yep. I mean, you had that. He went on to beat Myles Garrett in the Music City Bowl that same year, which is crazy.
Yep.
That was a great game.
Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky did get him back. I was at that game when Kentucky had to go play in Louisville, Lamar's last year. That was a great game. Jonathan Allen, Benny Snell.
Is that the year
What's his sophomore year?
Denzel Ware threw the trash can?
Mm.
Remember that when like Louisville and Kentucky got into a fight? And
No,
one of Kentucky's players threw a trash can. His
That was probably
junior year.
That was his. It was probably at UK.
When it was the year he I don't remember. No, because I think the year that we beat them was when Lamar fumbled.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, we got into a fight, and that's when
Yeah.
our player threw a trash can at him. That's what it was.
Yeah. When Lamar said, "All right, bet."
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
'cause
then he
Lamar-
turned up and beat us.
Lamar played at Kentucky last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm thinking of his second to last year when Kentucky went to go play at Louisville.
yeah, when Lamar fumbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe that. That was a crazy game though.
Good game. It was
Yeah.
very surprising that Kentucky won at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised we lost, but going in that year, after they lost to Houston, they were sort of
They weren't the same,
Mhm.
which is like hard in like college football, and I'm sure we'll talk about it like going into college football season. It's just like if you lose one game and like you're outside of like the top 8 or 9 going into like 10 spot, then like it's hard to play and like compete to get back into the college football playoffs because at that point, like if you lose one game, you're kind of over with. At least back in like when they were playing. Nowadays, it feels like if you lose one game, then the top 5 is they're still probably going to lose games. It's hard for teams to go undefeated
Mhm.
just because every team is like rising above. Like we hardly see Alabama go undefeated every single year now with Clemson, LSU, Georgia this year. I just feel like the top 4 kind of like mixes and switches up
Right.
every single week. All right, JD, you wanna lead us out?
Hey man, it's the start of something new, man. After we finally got it in the works. I'm hoping soon we can start to get some guests on here, get some more viewers on it. I'm liking the steps we're taking right now, but hell yeah.
EJ, you got anything to say?
Hey man, hopefully we can keep this going consistently, and like JD said, bring on new guests, things like that. I think we're a fun group, and we have a good base that we could build off of.
For sure. One of these podcasts we'll get EJ on one of his Saints talks, and me and JD will just make fun of him. Hopefully, if we have a guest on the podcast, he'll take EJ's side, but I highly doubt that because everyone hates the Saints. So we'll wrap it up. Appreciate whoever tunes into this podcast. We'll get some socials and social medias up soon.
Mhm.
But yeah, thanks for listening.
Yep.
Bear down.
Haha, skull.